Hi. These are my notes on chapters 1 and 2 of the AP US History book, The American Pageant, affectionately called Bailey. Chapter 1 is called New World Beginnings, and it raises the curtain on North America by putting people on it. Of course, everyone came over the Bering Strait, and by 1492, 54 million people were in the Americas, from the Incans to the Aztecs to the Mayans. Their main source of food was corn or maize. A couple of the tribal cultures were organized and settled, but the majority of them were small and nomadic for the most part. Meanwhile, in Europe, you've got the Renaissance going on with all the technological advancements and shit. The Portuguese are doing all this cool shit, and Spain is like, but I want to do that, and thus you have Columbus, who was actually looking for a new water route to the Indies, but instead he drops in on America and is like, oh, hey. The quote-unquote New World and Old World collide, and then Europe gets a whole lot of cool things from the Americas, like tobacco, maize, beans, etc., while the Americas, they don't make out so great, and they get disease and enslavement, among other things. But anyway, the Spanish conquistadors are now in America, so the first thing they do is establish the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, which gives Spain most of America. Then a lot of dudes come along and do a bunch of random shit, like De Leon, who went to Florida to look for gold and the Fountain of Youth. Coronado, who discovered the buffalo, but how you can discover something people have known about for centuries is beyond me, whatever. De Soto also looked for gold, and then Pizarro destroyed the Incas. But whatever, I digress. Basically, Spain is now one rich motherfucker, and they decide that they want more. So, in 1519, Cortez goes to Mexico looking for gold. I'm sensing a theme here. But instead finds Moctezuma, the Aztec dude who thinks that Cortez is some god named Quetzalcoatl. But yeah, Cortez is not a god, he's just some asshole. And by 1521, they've captured the Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan, and now they rule Mexico. Now Spain rules Mexico. Anyway, news has gotten around about how awesome America is, and now everyone from Europe wants a piece of that ass, and they start to threaten Spanish holdings. Then Chapter 2 starts, and that's called The Planting of English America. It picks up where the last one left off, and while Spain is busy trying to Christianize the Native Americans, Queen Elizabeth is busting up the Spanish ships and settlements. In 1585, this guy named Raleigh tries to make a settlement on Roanoke, but he fails epically. Then in 1588, the English defeat the Spanish Armada, which kind of turns the tables on Spain, and now England is the shit instead of Spain. England is like literally blowing up now. Their population is exploding, everybody's making tons of dough, and America is starting to look really appealing because of the 3 G's, which is God, gold, and glory. And the next thing you know, it's 1606, and hey, Jamestown. So yeah, the first settlers landed Jamestown, Virginia on May 24th, 1607. And they're basically a bunch of pussies who can't do anything and don't realize what they're getting themselves into. Thankfully, John Smith takes over with his boo, Pocahontas, and the settlers begin like this uneasy peace with the local Indian population, who were called the Powhatans. Yeah, that peace ends badly for the Powhatans because by 1685, they're basically extinct. After John Smith, though, John Rolfe comes along with his tobacco and shit, and that's when the colony actually stabilizes, and by 1619 they have a House of Burgesses, and by 1624 James does some shit with a charter, and I don't know, it's like a legit colony then or something. Then you've got Maryland, which was established in 1634 by Lord Baltimore for all the Catholics so they could have their religious freedoms and whatnot. But then a bunch of Protestants started crushing their party, and they had to make an act of toleration in 1649 that was basically like, hey dude, be cool. All you really need to know about the West Indies is that they have sugar and slaves. That's it. Oh yeah, the Carolinas. They were made in 1670, and that was the big place for slave trade. Rice was their main crop, and North Carolina was settled mainly by all the outcasts from Virginia, and they had a rep for being irreligious and friends with pirates, so sucks to be you, North Carolina. They officially separated from South Carolina in 1712. Then there's Georgia, which was established in 1733 as a buffer between the different European colonies. Their leader was James Oglethorpe, which is the stupidest name I've ever heard. And Georgia is a haven for debtors and criminals. So there you have it. Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, those were the plantation colonies. Have fun studying.